What did you do after high school?
Went to college. Uh, I was the first of my family to go to college. My father graduated from high school and became a mechanic and ultimately had a service station. And then he went where he worked at a service station. Then he became an owner operator of a service station. Happened to be DX, which was a very strong Middle West brand. Now gone. And of course, the cars were not particularly technical. You needed a box of wrenches, a set of wrenches, and pretty much you learned by working with someone else, and the size of the engine compartment was large enough that mostly you could get down inside of it, and you didn't need specialized tools. And for about 30 years, that provided him, that ought to be jarring. You want to take a couple of those and put in front of it, the profits?
It's good now.
And he provided for our family. It wasn't agricultural. I was a townie. Towns were only about 4,000 people. But for Iowa, that was good sized. Again, I did not know at the time, nor had an appreciation for the fact that I was growing up in the middle of the decline and disappearance of family farms. My father, when he was 12, 14 years old, was farming on what we called the home place. When my grandfather came from Ireland with two brothers, they each bought a farm from a land trader. These farms were, the U.S. government gave payments to widows of the War of 1812 and the widows living in New England. Somebody carved up some land that belonged to the Indians and sold it to the white guys. And they got off the boat, lived in Illinois for a modest period of time when my great-grandmother died, and then they moved about another 500 miles west into Iowa. But when he was 12 or 14, he was plowing behind a team of mules. And he lived long enough to watch them walk on the moon. That's a lot to happen in one lifetime. So there were some wrenching adjustments that had to be made. See, I lived about a block and a half, 2 blocks from the railroad tracks. So I'd pedal my tricycle up, not as a teenager, as a little kid growing up, because there was a war going on when I was small, and there weren't a lot of men around. And so, small town. So in the end, my visions of what I thought I was ever going to be when I was 5 was a railroad engineer. And a little bit later, when the possibilities got greater, I was confused. I really was. I went off to college, not knowing exactly what I was going to be, but I knew that I didn't want to be a farmer. So knowing what you're dumb at is being at least half smart. Uh, and I changed. I went in down there at Iowa State as a geology major, not knowing you needed a doctorate in mathematics and a doctorate in chemistry. Well, that was a big mistake. For a small town, they did the best they could in the area of science, but math was really difficult, and it stayed really difficult until I was in graduate school, when, I don't know, a revelation. And by that time I had changed majors, and I was in what's now called tech ed. I did enjoy drafting, and so that was one of those areas in the tech ed part that I was quite successful in. And I did teach drafting for about the first 18, 20 years when I was in Winnicott. So after I changed my major, I began to have a greater sense of what I wanted to do. It took a long time. It took at least 2 years of college. Why don't you hit me with